Welcome to the Big Time Thinking Podcast. This content is brought to you by taking thousands of arrows right in the back and doing something about it. Quit winking at girls in the dark.
Get them to sign on the line which is dotted.
And get ready to scale your sales, your dealership, your business, your life, your family, and your friends with Big Time Thinking.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Without further ado, here is the founder and CEO of Big Time Advertising, Terry McCauley.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Buckle up. Reality starts right fucking now.
All right, everybody. How you doing? Good Monday morning or whenever you listen to this. It is the start of the week. Fired up as always, ready to go. Excited for the podcast today, but you may think, man, how did he pick this topic today? It seems kind of morbid, but it's not morbid. It's a reality of every business. But it was confronted to me here recently, and I thought, you know what a great podcast to have. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of firing somebody that you know doesn't work in your organization. Firing quickly. There's an old saying in business that, and it's a good saying for a reason. You should hire slowly and fire quickly. Today we're going to talk about firing quickly. And this can come across as a morbid topic, but I think it's probably one of the most important things you'll deal with as an owner or as a manager. It's probably one of the toughest things you'll ever do, and if it's not, then there's something wrong with you. Someone who just loves to fire somebody, probably a sick person, really. Anybody that brags that, I get to fire someone today, really is not in tune with the human emotion. But for me, this is a skill that has to be developed, and it's one that's critical. And not failure to act on it is probably costing your dealership or your business money. Kind of give you a little background on me and why this is for me probably is the toughest thing I've ever had to deal with. So I by nature hate conflict, guys. You can probably get that based on the podcast. I'm high energy, a salesperson by nature, who hates confrontation. I mean, I hate it with everything I have. And I think the reason why, in fact, I know the reason why I hate confrontation. So my role in my family growing up, I was the second oldest of 7 children, if you haven't heard me speak on that before. 5 boys, 2 girls. My dad, rest his soul, was a former Marine, and could be pretty tough. Always had chores. Chores isn't what made him tough, but he brought tension to the dinner table. I always had friends say they hated spending the night with me because they felt like eating dinner at our house was like so serious. And I don't know where that came from, but it obviously was, if that was their feelings. But so growing up, my role was always comedy. I think that's why I like to joke around so much. When there's tension, Terry always had a joke to break it. I would slay the white elephant in the room. I'd bring it up, but then I'd make a joke about it. So a lot of vivid childhood memories. So with that though, I wasn't developing this skill as an adult. I ran from confrontation. When things got tense, I joked around and couldn't get real serious. It's cost me relationships looking back. I've always been what I call a bad breaker-upper in a relationship, which is terrible because I'm historically a super nice guy. But then when I'm done with a girl mentally, I don't like to break up. So I'll just go on and then I end up doing things that make me look like a douchebag. So yeah, I've always been a bad breaker-upper, and that's the bottom line. It has historically followed me my whole life, and that will never change. But I think, part of evolving as an adult and becoming a better businessman, manager / owner, is you've got to learn to develop your weaknesses within you. Yeah, we all love to do the things we're strong at, but the things we suffer with or struggle with, you've got to find a way to handle those and develop it into a skill. Just like playing basketball. I'm naturally right-handed. I couldn't dribble left-handed if I wanted to be successful. I had to work at it, even though I didn't like it, right? So same with firing people. I think it's such a critical thing to discuss. I'm glad we're hitting this right between the eyes. Having ran dealerships, large sales staffs, obviously it became something that I've done regularly, and I think better at it. One thing about me is when I study something, I know I'm weak at it. I read all the experts, and if they're experts, I take their word for it. You've heard me discuss that. If we can't agree on something, then we're going to have a tough time talking about any topic. So we've got to agree. If you go through the history of time, there's plenty of great business people out there who talk about, again, hiring slowly and firing quickly. The way something becomes a cliche is because we say it over and over, and 9 times out of 10, it's the way it should be, or the way it is. It's just reality. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about why firing quickly is important. And there's so many levels of this, but I first want to talk about, and I've seen fellow managers of other dealerships, ones I do advertising for, I walk in now, and I'll hear them say, "Oh, now that's not a great employee for us," and then I just want to stop them with the word "but." 9 times out of 10, when we say the word "but," we're already talking ourselves out of something we already know. It's like me trying to lose weight, which I've been working out, and say, "Man, I'm not eating carbs right now, but you know what? It tastes good right now," right? So we know that that's something we got to do. And I tell you, something my wife's taught me is, and I love this, and I've used it ever since she kind of told me, if you're debating something, think about this. If you're debating anything, you already know the answer. And I think that's profound. Give my wife some kudos for that. She's told me that. If you're debating something, you already know the answer. Good example. Man, I wonder if I should go to their visitation. We've all had the person pass away that we liked and loved, but it wasn't. You're like, man, I don't know if it's enough to go. Well, if you're debating it, you need to go, right? So same thing with an employee. Man, I just got a gut feeling. I can't decide if they're good for us or not good for us. Unfortunately, you already know the answer. So if you're debating something, you already know the answer. But let's talk about, why do we hold on to people in general, okay? Because I think by nature, we're all nice people, right? At the end of the day, owning my own business, being a manager, you come to work with an expectation of, man, you come to work whistling. And I've always loved that quote, if you don't come to work whistling, you need to find another job. But we're genuinely nice people. The world's in motion. There's bullies and all these different kinds of people. But most of us that hold on to people, we're nice people, and it bugs us. So we typically hold on to people too long. And for some reason, we struggle with saying, you know what, this is a reality I got to confront. I'm going to chop that tree down right now. And that's why I'm going to talk about, you got to fire quickly. You got to chop it down. Instead of, when you know you got to do something that's going to be unpleasant, just do it and get it over with. So you can start getting on with building your business, your dealership, etc. And if you're like me, here I'm a Leo, and I'm an extrovert. I like people in general, guys. I like all people. But how many of you have fallen in that? How many times have you liked someone who sucks at their job, right? You genuinely like an employee who just happens to suck at their job. They're just in the wrong position, and you know it, but you like them. That's a big reason we hold on to people. And I can't tell how many times I say, I'm like, man, I really like this person. Solid person working for our organization. She just was terrible at what we were asking her to do. And it's not that she wasn't a great person, didn't show up to work on time. As I was scaling my agency, I just hired the wrong person. And it was evident as we grew, it wasn't the right person for the position. It had nothing to do with that person. So I knew I needed to chop that tree down and knock it out. I think we also sometimes we intellectualize firing someone or holding on to someone. It's really not that complicated, but for some reason we like to, come up with all these intellectual type theories in our mind. We're like, well, we do have them for low pay, or, that's a really difficult job. At least we got them to do it. How would we ever find someone else to do it? Wrong reason to hold on to someone. Either they're good for your organization or they're not. And if they're not good for your organization is gonna struggle. Another reason I think we hold on to people is we do have guilt. It kind of goes in with the nice people. But as I was thinking about it more, I think this is like a major one. And I've worked for owners that worry about this so much. And I think I've heard it almost in every scenario of saying, hey, we're going to let someone go in any one of those discussions. We don't want to get sued. That's the number one reason, right? I've heard it all the time. Well, we don't want to get sued. And she's a female, or an African-American, Hispanic. And yes, you need HR involved in your business, okay? I would tell you as a small business, one of the most important investments all of us need to have is an HR department, right? Because you do want to do things right. But in its core, when you're sitting around in a dealership sales tower going, man, I don't want to fire that guy, I don't want to get sued. Or I don't want to fire that girl, I don't want to get sued. You probably have the wrong employee right from the jump. So how much more is it costing your dealership, your business, when you sit around and worry about those things? And then on top of it, what are you going to get sued for? I've never understood this. Like I've sat around managers going, I want to let them go. Just be careful, you get sued. And I just want to tell them, you're an old fuddy-duddy. Like that almost in and of itself is sexist or racist, because you're not going to fire someone because of their gender or race. Like, no, everyone's equal. And I think they got to go. So I think that's another reason. So pay attention to HR. But I think one of the major reasons we hang on to people is we always say it, but we don't want to get sued. So start studying, reading, learning what the laws are so that you become more comfortable. These are all little obstacles, things we do, but you gotta figure it out. And I'll tell you, this is major reason I always held on to people, and this is on me. Dude, hiring people is hard friggin' work. It's a lot of extra work. You have to start sifting through resumes, applications, interviews, training. And we just don't want to deal with it. We're like, well, business is pretty good. I'm going to just live with it. That's another reason we hold on to people. Doesn't make it the right reason, but it's a reason we hold on to people. Sometimes we're just worried about the business image. Oh, what is this going to mean to our image? What are they going to think? We're firing people. And I've thought this, even as a small business. I'm amazed at one of the first things people ask me when a dealership's about to hire us, how many employees do you have? I get asked that a lot. And I gather why they're doing it. They want to know if we're a viable company that they can count on to be around and isn't just going to disappear overnight. So business image is a big deal to dealers. But how bad is your business image keeping something that you know you shouldn't have? I'd argue that's worse for your image. When you have an employee that's not working out, you're hurting your business image more. Especially if we get into the reasons if it's lack of performance for a salesperson, not following up with people, insubordination, if they're a clubhouse lawyer, all these different reasons, and we hang on to them. That's way worse for your business image. There is none worse. And I think we all fantasize about how bad things can get, which we should a little bit and give some thought there. But again, that falls back into, I said earlier, we're intellectualizing it too much. If you're thinking about it, you already know the answer. Are you a better organization without that person or with them? And if the answer is without, do it right now. Don't even jack around, because you're typically not doing that employee a favor, because then you're living a lie. And you don't want to be fake. And I myself have been had that feeling before when I first started. Like I knew I was going to let someone go, and I'd say, I'm going to wait till the end of the day. And I look back regretting that. Why would I make someone work all day when I know I'm going to let them go? But it was me putting off the inevitable. And then you have to be fake, and you don't want to be fake when you're looking at someone. I've had someone go, man, Terry, I love working for you. You're such a fun guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm letting this person go in 2 hours. Like worst thing ever. So we worry about the business image. That's one of the reasons we hang on to people. Then the next biggest one, I think, next to we're worried about getting sued, and I think this is huge, is the timing's not right. I've heard this all the time, and even when we want to break up with a girlfriend, we do this. But we don't want to fire people because the timing's not right. And I think this falls into one of the reasons we're all not successful. I call it justifying being average, and that would be another great podcast. But the timing's not right. Oh, it's her birthday month. I would hate to let that person go. They're so close to their birthday. Or it's July 4th. I don't want to do that when they're around their family. Man, that'd be demoralizing. Oh, dude, it's December, dude. It's Christmas time. And imagine someone losing their job around Christmas. Yes, all those are heartfelt, and I get it. But I think we sometimes fail to recognize, by getting rid of someone in your dealership that is hurting your business, what about everybody else's Christmas there that's relying on the income? One. Two, I think we're convinced, and we're a little egotistic, that their life won't go on not working for your dealership. That's where you become truly enlightened, when you go, you know what? By severing this that we know is not working, I'm giving them an opportunity to go be great somewhere, because everybody deserves that opportunity to be great somewhere. Sometimes people don't want to quit their job because they're scared. It's a scary feeling. And I've been on that side. I've been fired, and I will tell you, it's crazy at the time, but then the whole world opens up, and if looking back, if I'd have known how awesome it was, I would have quit in the first place. So the timing's not right. Can't be a reason to hold on to people, but it is a major reason we hold on to people. The timing's not right. We go, we're one away, we're close to a bonus. That all falls into timing. You just got to really watch it. Then there's other management that likes to give you opinions on how you're running your department. This is another big one to me, especially in a dealership when you got to report to the owner. I call it, when there's interference and people are overstepping their boundaries. That's where you as a manager have to have the gumption to say, hey, I know what you're saying. I'm just telling you day to day when we run in my department, this is the right decision. I'm going to do it. I need you to back me. You can't let the controller come up to the sales staff and say, oh, why are you getting rid of that person? They're nice. They have no idea why you're getting rid of them, and it's really ultimately none of their business. You need to stay hyper-focused on how am I helping my dealership sell more vehicles right now? Or how am I helping my business become a better business every single day? Again, I say it over and over, the difference between the rut and a grave. You're stuck either way, you got to get moving. And you build great people, guys. Great organizations start with great people, not a great product. You get the people right, your business, your dealership will go through the stratosphere. And I would tell you, we all invest in advertising and things, but we got to start investing in an HR. We got to start having a game plan for it, so that we become better prepared to get rid of people that we know we need to. So those are really some of my thoughts on why we hold on to people. The big ones now that we've talked a little more that really do stick out. We worry about getting sued. The timing's not right. We're genuinely nice people, and we like the people that just suck at their job. So that does make it more difficult. It's no different than disciplining your own child. It's not fun, but it's got to be done, or you're going to create a worse animal. And our business is no different, and it won't be any different. But so we know why we hang on to them. But what are some of the things that happen when we keep a non-compatible staff member? What does that mean? Like one that doesn't fit into the team right? There's just something wrong. We as managers are miserable. I don't know about you, but I've held on to people, we've all done it, that you come to work like, oh my gosh, and I'm miserable. And you shouldn't be miserable at work. You should love your job. And that goes for people that are listening. If you're not happy at your job, I mean it. Go in and give your resignation and go find something you love. You only get this life once. We all know someone who got cancer too young. We all know someone who was just killed in an automobile accident. Tragic. It's all severed and gone. Right? What we do for a living, our careers, our jobs, is how we pay the bills. But you deserve to be happy. You're at your job more than you are your own family. So it's important you be happy as an employee, and then even a manager. Why be miserable? Why are you putting up something that makes you miserable? Okay? So for me as a manager, there's only one kind of employee I always got rid of that didn't matter. The negative employee, negative Nelly. If they're rude or negative, I never hang on to those people. If I have negative people in my building, I want them gone. Okay? But when we hang on to them, the one thing we forget is that team morale plummets. 9 times out of 10, how many of you guys have let someone go and then the whole team walks up, oh man, I know it's tough on you, boss, but good job. None of us, we never wanted to tell you we didn't like that person, right? All the truth comes out of the woodwork. As bad as it is, it's like you get this huge weight lifted off your shoulder. But we forget that when we do keep them, what we're doing to team morale. The guy who consistently shows up late, the guy who consistently doesn't hit his goal, the guy who consistently doesn't cover his draw or her draw, but we keep him. Why? What are you doing to your ability to manage the rest of the staff? If the rules and obligations don't apply to one, it's to all. They're all standing out there in that huddle looking at you going, what are you going to do about it? Are you all talk? Or are you the real deal? And as hard as it is, I will tell you, another one of my favorite sayings is the town gets real quiet when there's a town hanging, right? It's amazing. You let someone go and get it done quickly, how quickly the whole organization becomes real quiet and like we're back to business. And maybe that would be another great podcast. But as a manager, as a leader, you got to keep this organization plowing forward. It's no different than a Major League Baseball team. It stinks to trade someone or on a basketball team, football team. You've got to get the right people that work with your team, and they've got to be integrated. And that's a thought. When you're hiring people, are you letting one of your leaders on the sales team interview them too? Get an opinion of them before you do that. Instead of just telling them, hey, by the way, here's your new friend. They might tell you something. They pick up something that we don't even look into as managers. But that team morale around you is everything. Because I'm a big organizational behavior person, and when the organizational behavior is down because you're hanging on to a whiner, a complainer, a non-performer, the whole team looks at you like, dude, why is this person on our team? So that's the big thing. The next is, what happens when we hang on to someone we shouldn't? What about the service to our clients? They're affected the most, and we don't know it. We always say, oh, it's expensive to have to hire someone. Yes, it is. I don't even think you have a way of quantitating how much it costs you with the clients or the customers who don't buy from you because you never hear about how bad your employee is. Maybe it is they don't follow up. Maybe what about, and people are generally nice. I said this earlier, we're generally nice. Your customers are generally nice. When they have someone who's bad at their job, they're not going to tell you. They're just going to walk away and go buy somewhere else, because we all get stuck on these negative reviews we get. And those are important. I'm more concerned about the people who don't leave a review, right? Because that's the norm, right? How many of us go to a restaurant we hate? We don't go on Yelp and Facebook and, oh my God, this place sucks. Like, we really don't, like, we just don't go again. If our friends ask us, we tell them. I was more worried about those reviews. And so our clients are affected more than we realize, and our customers that we want to sell. So that's another consequence of holding on to someone that we know we shouldn't. And I've already spoken this, we also hold back that employee we know is not a good fit for us. We're holding them back from achieving at another job that they can actually excel in. Help them go find the right position. I told you that I had a gal I had to let go. Dude, one of the greatest freehand artists I've seen, right? And I had her sitting there doing car ads. It was a terrible match. Nothing to do with the person. The person's great, but the job's got to be a fit too. So that leads me into kind of the 3 C's that I think you can put your mind around if you're trying to decide, hey, do we got to let this person go, or is it about training? Is it about something else? And I will tell you, you do need to make this decision. And if it goes a certain way and you got to do it, then do it quickly. But the 3 C's are clarity, capacity, and compatibility or commitment. Really, commitment's probably a better word than compatibility, but they kind of go together. But clarity, capacity, compatibility, or commitment, okay? So the first one's clarity. It is important, and I think we as managers sometimes fail in an interview. We candy coat a lot of crap because, again, we don't like confrontation. You can't candy coat. You've got to keep things clear. When you have an issue, do you address it immediately, or do you let it fester into something bigger than it should be? So clarity is, does your employee know what is expected of them every day? Okay? I'm guilty of this. We hire and say, hey, by the way, you're going to be doing video editing for us, and then they get here and they do very little video editing. Really not fair. So you gotta set it up. Say, hey, this is what we do. That I want to make it very clear to you. So in the car world, your job is to follow up with every lead immediately, not wait in your schedule. Sometimes you're going to have to work on a day off. Has it all been clear? If it hasn't been clear to that employee, then it's not fair to that employee to be fired, because there's possibly some confusion. So sometimes performance is based on clarity of the goal of the organization, the sales department, the dealership. It's got to be crystal clear. And part of crystal clear sometimes is verbal reprimands and written reprimands, so they know, hey, this is an area I'm not playing games, right? One thing you don't want is when you fire someone, they have no idea it was coming. I think that's the worst. I think that's the biggest insult to someone, when they have no idea. Then we've failed as managers because we haven't made it clear of what your expectations are. If you set a draw for someone and it's non-recoverable draw, right, and they don't hit it, do you keep babying them, say, hey, tough luck, and then some people you hold it to them? It's got to be clear. And if the one you babied and then you go fire them, well, what for? Well, you never covered your draw. Well, why did it matter? So you've got to set clear guidelines as to why they work for you, what their job is, what their expectations are. Okay, so the first of the C's is that clarity. Then the second one is capacity, right? So capacity is are they capable of doing the job? And do they have the tools necessary to do the job? Okay, so I walk in some dealerships and these guys don't have what it needs. Like, the cars aren't lined up. And so I'll start asking questions like, do you guys have kite string to line them up? How do you line up cars? Have we given people the tools necessary to do the job? Yeah, you have a CRM system, but not every salesperson has a computer at their desk so they can fill out good CRM tools. You expect them to go stand at the receptionist desk and enter the information. Do they have the tools, and do they have the capacity to do what's necessary, right? Everybody's got different gifts, and if you've got them in the wrong fit, 9 times out of 10, it won't work. So that's the other part. You've got to say, hey, maybe I need to get them in a better area that will help our organization. So you've got to, and have I provided them the tools? So you can't ask someone to do a job when they don't have what it takes to do it. And some of that, guys listening, is advertising. right? If your sales team's slow and you don't spend much on advertising, you can't blame them for like, it's not all always going to be 100% organic. You've got to provide them the traffic necessary for them to do their jobs. That also helps morale. Then if you get through those two, those two might not always be fireable offenses. It's a self-check saying, all right, that's not someone we need to get rid of. We haven't made it clear. We haven't provided the goals. We're going to have a sit down with them, make it clear. And then if behavior doesn't change, we're going to sever the relationship. But then the last one for me is compatibility or commitment. Okay. Do they get along with the organization? Are they committed to your organization? What is commitment? Commitment means it's not about the paycheck. And most employees don't come just for pay. Yes, they got to get paid, right? But I promise you, if you get people who are committed and love what they do or are doing something they genuinely enjoy, at the end of the day, if there's buy-in, yeah, the pay is awesome, but it doesn't come up as much. If you constantly have an employee, it's always about money, and they're banging you for a raise every 3 months, they're not committed, and you got to look for someone else. So we're looking for that commitment, that buy-in, and you're looking for compatibility. Those are the two things I'm looking for. And if I don't have those, they got to go, and immediately. Don't put it off. You've got to learn to fire quickly. It's one of the hardest things we'll do as a manager or an owner, but it's something you got to learn to do and do it quickly and do it humanely. Think about how you're going to talk to that person and say, hey, this is the toughest job ever, but we're gonna go our separate ways today. And then as I was thinking, I was like, okay, I've done a decent job of telling you why we hold on to people, what happens to our organization when we keep people we know we should get rid of, the 3 C's we should be using to evaluate people: clarity, capacity, and that compatibility or commitment. But then what are some signs that we get that we know someone needs to be fired? They're there. So I thought I'd make a quick list of some important signs we see that we know someone needs to be fired. Number one that came to my mind was, if you got someone who makes other people do his or her job, they got to go. They need to be fired. That's not commitment. That's not buy-in. In a car dealership world, when you guys go move the cars, you say, hey, I want everybody on the lot moving cars. We're going to flip colors. We're going to redo the lot. And one of them sits on their ass and acts like they're on the phone call, making phone calls. They're not bought in, and they're not part of the team. They make others, they don't think it's their job too, right? Sometimes we all have tasks we can't stand, and if they disappear and they make other people do the jobs that they're supposed to be doing, that's a good sign they got to be fired. Pay attention to those people. Don't put up with those people. Number two, if they create daily difficulties for others, right? And you know who this is. If you're constantly hearing that, oh, you didn't know this person, if they consistently are coming up, just making daily lives difficult for others, they've got to go. I got a brother, Ryan, who I think I'm getting the story right. He told me the way he tells someone that they're just making everybody's life difficult, and I love this little story. He will call him in his office. This is literally what he'll do, and I think I'm getting this right. He'll sit him down and go, hey, I want to talk to you a minute. Your sales are off the hook. You're doing a great job for us. But, it makes me think, and he'll ask him, do you like ice cream? And everybody always says, yes, I like ice cream. He goes, dude, I love ice cream too. And he'll ask him, what's your favorite flavor? And he doesn't care. And the guy will say his flavor. He goes, you know what my favorite flavor is? And the guy will always say, what? He goes, my favorite flavor ice cream is chocolate chip ice cream. When I come home, I love to get a big bowl of chocolate chip ice cream, and I am in absolute heaven. Life is pretty damn good when I got a big bowl of chocolate chip ice cream. And life here at our dealership is pretty good. We sell a lot of vehicles. Everybody's making pretty good money, and we're just eating a bowl of chocolate chip ice cream. But every now and then, when I take a bite, there's a little piece of poop, and I didn't know it. I thought it was chocolate, and I just get a piece of poop in my mouth. Now, and I ask him, what do you think that does to my bite of ice cream? It really fucks it up. It makes it a terrible bite of ice cream. It just takes one little turd in chocolate chip ice cream to make it a shitty bowl of ice cream, right? And you're just saying, I'm just asking you not to be that piece of poop in my ice cream. Is that possible? I don't know if that flies with HR, but I love the analogy. If you've got that person that makes daily difficulties, makes daily tasks difficult for others, then get rid of them. They got to go. And we know they do. If there's someone who takes up a ton of amount of your mental bandwidth, right? I've always said this. We spend 60 to 70% of our day with the bottom producers, the bottom dwellers of our organization. And we've got it backwards. If we've got someone we're spending all of our mental bandwidth with someone who doesn't deserve it, that's a sign. I'm not saying fire them, but that's a great sign. You probably are going to have to get rid of them. I'm not talking about the training period, but I'm talking about once you're in and they're just always in there needing something and they're taking up all your mental bandwidth as a manager. You've got an issue and it needs to be addressed. Another sign that I know we've all done it, but if someone lies to you more than one time, fire them on the spot. I hate liars. Everybody might bend the truth once, and there's a difference between bending the truth or not telling you what happened, but if someone lies to you once, forgive them and make sure they're written up immediately and they understand what will happen next. But if someone lies to you more than once, in my opinion, they have to go. Or it's at least a major, major sign that someone needs to be fired. Because if they're lying to you, they're lying to customers, they're lying to their coworkers, on and on and on. If you got someone that's permanently clueless, right? And I hate to pick on someone, but if they're a fish out of water, and you know who they are, then you quickly got to get rid of them. It makes me think of the viral video. If anybody saw it, I feel bad, but dude, this is the funniest thing. This guy trying to put overhead luggage in his thing. It's gone viral here the last few days. He literally, he obviously has never flown, but he's got to be the most clueless guy of all time. And I thought to myself, he needs that little toy where remember when you were kids, the square and the triangle, you got holes and you put the right shapes in the right little holes in the box. This guy literally had a carry-on luggage and he's got it standing straight up and he's trying to jam it in. He can't get it in. And someone shot a video of it and up walks the stewardess and just says, "Here, sir," and just lay it down and it slides right in. You're like, are you kidding me? So if you've got someone that's completely and permanently clueless, you probably got someone in the wrong position and they probably don't belong in an organization. That's a great sign they probably need to go. If you have someone who refuses to change, and this is a hard one because I do have a deep-rooted belief that people don't change in general. Their biases won't change. Their motivations won't change. We are who we are, and I don't necessarily think we need to change people because I love people that are different. I love everything about us. I think that's what makes us an amazing race, human races, that we're all different. But if we come together with our different idiosyncrasies, we can become an amazing team on any business and dealership. But if you have someone who refuses to change, if you've asked them, says, "Hey, this is the way we've always done it, but we're introducing a new process," and they can't buy into a process because they can't change, they've got to go. Guys, Toys R Us refused to change, right? What happened to Toys R Us? They're out of business. Businesses are going to have to change. And if you have someone who says, that's the way we've always done it, that's a sign of someone that might have to be fired. It's just a sign. Someone who refuses to change, again, doesn't have the buy-in, and there is a good chance that's someone you got to let go. The last one that I think is critical, and it happens, but we all, not everyone, but there are managers I've seen that let it go. And so my seventh sign that someone's got to be fired is if they trash you to other people, and you hear it through the grapevine. If someone's trashing you, that's a major sign they got to go. And when I say trashing you, you know exactly what it is. I shouldn't even have to explain it, but they're trashing other people. Anybody who talks trash about anyone else is a major sign they've got to be fired. For me. So the 7 I just gave you, do they make someone else's job, someone else do their job? Do they create daily difficulties for others? Are they taking up too much of your mental bandwidth and you're spending all your time with them? Do they lie to you more than once? Are they permanently clueless? Do they refuse to change, or do they trash you to others? Those are, guys, gals, 7 good signs you've got someone you probably are going to need to fire. I spent some time on this because it's a topic I think is important we all can learn from and give it some deeper thought to have some big time thinking. Those are my thoughts on it. I want you to give it some thought as you're driving to work or going for your workout or however you listen to our podcast. Give it some thought. If you have that one person in your organization you need to fire, go do it right now and chop the tree down. It's not about being negative. It's about everybody freeing each other to become more successful. Your business dealership will become more successful, and you've got to have buy-in and understand that person you're holding back can go have bigger and brighter success, okay? That's part of being a great business person, and it's a skill you're going to have to develop. Hire slowly, fire quickly. Okay, that's our podcast today. I appreciate you listening. Again, Big Time Thinking is the name. I need you to share it. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. I do see reviews trickling in. I could really use comments. Please give us the good feedback. We're begging for it. We're growing this podcast. We're having fun. If you have a suggestion for a topic, we'd love to have it. I've got some great guests coming up that we're going to start doing some more guests. We had Brad White earlier, and it was a good podcast. So keep listening. Keep giving things big time thought, big time thinking, so that we can all become big time successful, big time at whatever we want to do in life. That's what this is all about. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Have a great day and a better week. Go get them.